It started as a softness, a slight distortion in the ambient noise of the bathroom, nothing sharp, nothing identifiable, just a subtle interruption in the hum of silence that wrapped the small, tiled space during those quiet moments before bed. He didn't hear it at first, not fully. It was the kind of sound that exists beneath perception, like the pressure of a gaze you only feel when it's already past, or the echo of a footstep mistaken for your own. The first time he noticed, he was brushing his teeth, leaning slightly toward the mirror, one hand resting on the sink edge, the other moving automatically in that rhythmic, mindless motion, and in the middle of that quiet repetition, he paused, not because of the sound, but because of its absence. The silence had changed. Not grown louder, not thinner, just altered in its texture, like something new had entered the room and displaced the stillness. He leaned closer to the mirror, foam clinging to the corner of his mouth, toothbrush paused mid-motion, and that's when he heard it, a breath. Shallow. Slow. Not his own. He froze, blinked. The sound was gone. He rinsed, shook his head, told himself it had been an echo, a trick of suction in the pipes, a phantom pressure caused by his own breath bouncing off the glass. But the next night, it returned, not immediately, not clearly, but always at the same moment, when the toothbrush reached the back molars, when the rhythm of his arm grew steady, when his body was too occupied to react quickly. It wasn't every time. Only sometimes. Enough to doubt, but not enough to prove. He tried testing it. Changed his posture, faced slightly away from the mirror. Nothing. Tilted his head downward. Silence. But the moment his eyes aligned with their reflection and the brushing resumed, the breathing returned, faint, as though someone were standing just behind the mirror, lips barely parting, inhaling carefully to avoid detection. He examined the wall. Knocked along the frame. Tapped behind the sink. It was solid. No space behind it, no false panel, just plaster and cold tile. He opened the medicine cabinet behind the glass and left it ajar, no breathing. But as soon as the mirror was closed and he resumed brushing, it came again, that almost human breath, damp and soft and close. He began to time it. 10 seconds after brushing began. Sometimes 15. Never more than 20. The pattern was undeniable. And it only happened at night. Morning routines were silent. Afternoon, nothing. Only in the quiet of evening, when the light outside had drained from the windows and the apartment held its breath, did the mirror begin to respond. He bought a recording device, placed it on the sink, left it running while he brushed. Played it back immediately. Nothing. Just the rustling of clothes, the click of bristles, the splash of water. No breathing. But he heard it, not in the playback, not in memory, but in the moment. He stopped brushing in front of the mirror, moved to the kitchen sink, avoided the bathroom altogether after dusk. The breathing did not follow. The mirror remained still. But avoidance breeds awareness, and awareness sharpened his sense of presence. The more he avoided the mirror, the more he felt watched. Not during the day, not in dreams, only in the hallway near the bathroom, in the weight of footsteps that weren't his, in the cold grip of the doorknob before he turned it. He would open the bathroom quickly now, flick the light on, step back, as if to catch something moving, but the room was always still, quiet, innocent. Until one night, brushing at the kitchen sink, he looked up, and saw in the microwave's reflective panel a shape move inside the bathroom, where the door had been left ajar, the light still on. And in that moment, he realized the breathing had never been behind the mirror. It had been watching through it, waiting for him to be too occupied, too distracted, too trusting of his own reflection, so that he wouldn't notice it learning to sync its breath with his. At first, he thought it might stop if he simply changed the routine again, not just the location, but the act itself. He bought mouthwash, stopped brushing altogether for 3 days, relying on swishes of burning mint and sharp bursts of cold water. But even that didn't work. On the third night, as he tilted his head to gargle, he heard the breath behind him again, faint, measured, perfectly synchronized with the tilt of his spine. And this time, it wasn't from the mirror. It was from the empty space between his back and the kitchen counter, a sound that didn't echo, didn't shift, but clung tightly to the moment like a thread pulled taut between mirrors. He turned. Nothing. Not even the microwave reflection offered movement. But the sound of breath, not a gasp, not a wheeze, just a quiet inhale, lingered too long, as if reluctant to admit it had been heard. That night, he taped over the bathroom mirror. Black garbage bags. Duct tape. Layers upon layers until no surface shone. He couldn't bear to break the glass, it felt too final, too much like inviting the wrong kind of attention, but he could at least erase its face. He even pulled the medicine cabinet door outward and jammed it open, shielding the glass from direct view. but still, the breathing continued. Not constant. Not in every room. But always at the edge of routine, where the body stopped thinking and the mind released its grip, washing hands, rinsing dishes, tying laces. It waited for those moments of detachment, like something that required permission not through voice or invitation, but through an attention,